Ever wonder what a husband's worst nightmare is? We're going to talk about this today in an episode of Surviving Romance. Stick around. Hello again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to Surviving Romance. Okay, husbands, this is one of those subjects that we don't like to talk about, but every once in a while we have to face. Every husband, and wives, you may not know this, but every husband's worst nightmare is something happens to you, you're kind of out there all alone, and we can't get to you. There's nothing worse for a husband to experience. I've had to experience it a couple of times since I've been married, when Princess Faye has had an accident or something like that. And at some point in time, every husband's going to have to face this. So, what do? Well, one of the things that we all, if something happens, and we're not able to get to our wives, one of the things that we always hope is that someone will help them, when they're in a predicament like that. Well, this actually happened not to me, but to another husband, more in particular. And the wife in question, if you will, was none other than my store manager, poor Jen. For those of you who've been keeping up with the weather here in Missouri, I believe the time code's accurate. I'll have to take a look. But basically, we had a nasty snowstorm yesterday, as I'm filming right now, and poor Jen, she lost control around a corner, did a couple of 360s, came in backwards and smacked the back end of her car off of a tree. We're basically I'm gonna cut away. We're gonna talk about a few things, and then when we come back, basically we're gonna kind of address a few more things, and then we're gonna end it as usual. Sounds good? All right. See y'all in a moment.
Okay, the road that you actually see is 00 highway that connects Farmington to Fredericktown. And it's a typical Missouri back road, and it's still covered with a lot of snow. It wasn't until later on that county workers were able to get it cleared. It's still very dark, it's very early in the morning, and it is very cold. So when I seen those flashers, I was just absolutely relieved that I could be there, not only for a co-worker, but for another gentleman that his wife was in a very bad place. I don't know how much any of you can really understand my relief unless you've been in this place. So there you have it. Let's cut back and let's talk a little bit more.
Well, welcome back. All right. Things went great, didn't they? Got out there with Project Spirit, was able to get Jen, was able to get her out of the cold, take her to work where she was safe, and one more relieved husband, whom I never met, but was able to get his wife to safety. Mission accomplished, right? Right? Not on your life. This is the Prince Magnum channel. You all know better than that. Nothing on this channel goes off without a hitch. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it was, in a perfect world, this would be, nope. Jen got on the phone with the tow truck driver after I got her a couple of shots of espresso, got into work and everything, got her a couple of shots of espresso, and she made some phone calls and everything. Called the tow truck company, and what do they tell her? You got to be with the car when we come pull it out. And she hollers for me. I come up and said, okay, let's go. So right back out there we went. So we're going to cut away, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to go from there.
All right, here we are again, 00 highway. As you can tell, the roads are still pretty treacherous, and I was getting very nervous because by this time there's a lot more traffic going on, so anything can happen. And let me say up front, despite my nervousness, Jen and I still had a lot of laughs going to get her car. One of the things we kept joking about while we were sitting there waiting, and I didn't get this on camera, was the fact that, while we were sitting there waiting, we were like, we waited for a good long while. We didn't get back to work till almost 8, and we were sitting there saying, what if the tow truck driver got stuck? And we're like, that'd be a heck of a thing. But thankfully, he made it okay, and I want to thank that tow truck driver for helping us get her car out. On top of that, we know that road crew workers were working their butts off. Not only MoDOT, but the county road workers. Thank you guys so very much. We know you were doing your doggone best to get the roads clear so we can all make it to our destinations. We know that you got up bright and early. You had to get out there and risk life and limb in this cold, nasty weather. Thank you all so very much. Pretty much from here, we're going to pull up on her car, and I don't think Jen realized it, but I was actually using the Spirit, angling Spirit and using the Spirit cam to catch where her car was. Thankfully, the damage was very minimal. It's mostly cosmetic, so now Jen and her husband can, put the car back together. As a matter of fact, Jen was able to drive the car home. After she was done with work. So thankfully, her car will still be usable. So good news there. Pretty much at this point, I'm actually going to pull up a little further where Project Spirit won't have much difficulty getting back on the road, and we're still off the road, not blocking traffic. So everything was hunky-dory there. Pretty much from there, basically at this point, I'm going to stop narrating here in a brief second, and I mean, the next part was absolutely hilarious. Basically, I'm pulling Project Spirit off on the shoulder. Jen's car is just right behind us, in the ditch, and this next part is absolutely 110% so funny. I am so glad I caught it on camera. You're going to get to hear part of our conversation. I mean, this was a 1 in a million moment. I am not kidding you. This is just absolutely 110% too funny to miss. So here y'all go.
Faster going. You're gonna be in the ditch like me.
And I just got that on camera. Like, moron!
Welcome back. All right, this is the final little part. I'm telling y'all right now, I mean, yeah, it was a little frustrating because we had to get right back out there. So basically, I brought her back so I could take her back out into danger, If it's me by myself, I don't worry, but, basically I was responsible for the safety of another gentleman's wife, so it made me, I'll be honest with you, it made me a little nervous. But as you can tell by the footage, it was a little safer. The county road workers were doing their best to get the roads clear, and they were doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much, guys. Project Spirit doing exactly what she was meant to do, get you through the roughest weather to get you to where you need to be. And number two, I, Prince Magnum, got to get out there and help not only a friend but a husband I've never even met. So that brings us to this point where I'm going to leave you all with a couple of final thoughts, okay? And you'll see how this ties into surviving romance, okay? Number one, wives, if you did not know this, this is every husband's nightmare, okay? Something happens to you, and we can't get to you. And we only hope that there's someone who's willing to help, okay? I was, of course, but unfortunately that's not everybody, okay? So believe me when I say this is every husband's nightmare, okay? For you lovely wives to be in a bad spot and there's nobody to help. I've had to experience it myself, and there's no worse fear, Okay? No worse fear. I'm telling you. The other thing I'm going to tell you is, um, ironically, um, I have, for 13 years I worked nursing. And in those 13 years, I worked around a lot of women. And I heard a lot of women really put down their husbands, their boyfriends, or their fiancés. And husbands, I'm going to tell you hands down, I never wanted to be that husband that his wife thought he was a complete retard, okay? No husband wants to know that, okay? So as husbands, it's our job to give our wives as much bragging rights as we possibly can. Thanks to Jen and her husband, John, I was able to do that. I risked, you know, getting hurt, and I risked one of the stars of my YouTube channel to get her to safety. I want you all to take that in for a minute, because now I have a very special story to give to my wife that she can now, when she's standing around with the gals and all the other gals are talking about how their other halves are retards, she can now say, my husband's not so bad. So, again, special thanks to Jen and her wonderful husband, John, who was kind enough to let me do this. From what I understand, they're going through a lot of stuff, and pretty much that was their only vehicle that was capable of getting out there without, putting himself at risk. They had a truck, but it's got some bugs, and it would have been potentially dangerous for him to get out there. So they trusted me enough to help, and from the bottom of my heart, Prince Magnum, right here on the Prince Magnum channel, I want to thank you both very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Also, a very special shout out to a former co-worker of mine, Mark. Jen, you'll be happy to know he was asking specifically for this footage. I don't know why, but he was asking for it, okay? I guess he's going to razz you about it the next time he sees you. Alright, that brings us to the end of this episode of Surviving Romance. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's a little long-winded in some spots, but I hope you all took away a little something more than you had when you clicked on this video. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you've got a sweetheart, get out there and do something special for her. If you have a project, get out there and work on it as much as the weather will allow. And as always, if nobody has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.